窒息させる気がない。この野郎、しがみついたまま気絶してやがる。
あれ、そういやゾロ、なんでお前まで波に追われてたんだ？下の町にいたのか？
いや、別に。
煙突に刺さってた。
What's up, everybody? We have some Zoro versus Purple Luffy gameplay here. I ended up taking the play away from Purple Luffy, and for those who know how to play Purple Luffy, you love going first. And so to take that away from Purple Luffy felt pretty good here. My hand is shaping up a little bit, missing a pretty important element, and that's the 3-cost chopper. Not the one that's in my hand, but the other one. We're gonna go ahead and just swing a 7k lead here. We're gonna leave one up. Very threatening. Who knows what it could be? Definitely going to be the just shut up and come with me, which is going to allow me to look at the top 5, grab a 3-cost animal, and put it into play, allowing me to kind of build a little bit of a board's presence on my opponent's turn. Opponent's going to go to their 4-Dawn turn, likely going to ramp up here to 5. Applicable plays here is potentially a Magellan, potentially a Sanji, and opponent's just going to play out the Magellan. Magellan is going to -1 Dawn from both of us. My opponent's plan here is to set me back on Dawn. Which honestly is kind of annoying. We do manage to find said chopper, which is honestly the best card in our deck. We do see a Diablo Jambi going to the bottom. We're going to note that for later just in case, as Purple Luffy can typically block her up later in the game. So we're going to have the nice little chopper play. Going to go up to our 4-Dawn turn as we counter out of that 5k attack with a 1k. In this specific matchup, I'm just trying to go as fast as possible. I know Luffy typically has a lot of counter, and Luffy's also going to try to flood board just as fast as I do. And so I think we're just going to keep trying to pressure my opponent. Don't have a lot to do. Could potentially play a Nami out. Likely we're just going to go like 7k. We could go 7k, 7k. So yeah, we're going to go start with the 7k. Basically forcing my opponent to use 2 cards from hand if they want to get out of the attack. Opponent is already at 3, which is one of the benefits of playing Zoro into Purple Luffy is Purple Luffy uses their own life as resources, so we can pretty much ensure that they're going to go down pretty low early, which means our kitten killers and such are going to be a lot more lethal. That 7k is going to be taken by Luffy here, and then we're going to pay one out. We're going to play Nami here. Nami's a great potential threat for next turn, as I do have 2 Makinos in hand. Nami's going to see either a Jambe or a Sanji here. I always like to pick at least one Jambe up for later in the game. For those who don't know, Jambe does give your leader or a Straw Hat character, so it's a Straw Hat leader as well, unblockable for that battle. So if my opponent decides to block her up with 0 life, they're out of luck. In that specific situation, my opponent's going to go ahead and tap some Dawn here, going to kind of do it slightly out of order, minus a Dawn, and then play the card. But he's going to Magellan me again here. Magellan, it's not a threat I'm ever going to be KOing, because it's really just going to set me back on Dawn. And in Zoro, you kind of need some of that extra Dawn to be able to push 5k to 6k attacks with some of your lower characters. So it is a little annoying here. Opponent's just going to swing 7k. We're going to give him a 2k and a 1k. I'm trying to stay at a relatively high life here. And we just, oh man, so we even threw the Makino away. I am just not giving Luffy any advances here. And instead just going to find ways to just continue to punish him here. So we could potentially go, we could play out the Zoro. We could go 6k lead, 6k Zoro, 7k Luffy. You can also attach one to Hiking Bear. So like there's a lot of plays that we could do this turn. In hindsight, you know, I was countering pretty aggressively. I am playing against a friend. The friend is actually playing my my Luffy deck. This is the Luffy deck that I played a few weeks ago on the channel. So I know exactly what's in the deck because I let him borrow it for that night. So we're going to just go with Hiking Bear. Hiking Bear is going to activate, going to give Chopper +1000, allowing Chopper to swing 7k lead here and look at the top 5 cards of the deck. Hoping to find something pretty neat here. We're going to find ourselves, we got 2 of the 4k choppers. We're going to drop that into play. That chopper does allow us to put a 3k or less animal from hand into play, but I do not have one, so we're just going to let that into play. And we're going to swing 7k lead. Opponent's going to show me a 2k and a 1k. And then we're going to go 5k lead. Opponents might show me another 1k or just take it here. Let's see here. Opponent's going to count up how much Dawn they have. But opponent has minused a lot of Dawn this, at least 2 Dawn this game. So definitely maybe not at the Dawn totals of the day. Want to be into the next turn. We'll see here. Does the opponent just want to take the hit? I don't think they do. They're going to counter out of that with 1k. We're going to go 6k with lead here, getting a 2k from hand. We're going to tap 3, play out the Rush Zoro. Rush Zoro is going to go 6k at lead. Opponent's just going to take it, and we're going to pass to my opponent's turn. I have quite the board and 2 unblockable cards in my hand. This is feeling pretty written up at this point. We'll see here as my opponent is going to go into there. I believe this is their 7 Dawn turn. They could play out the Luffy, the 7-drop Luffy Taro, putting maybe a Nami into play, or a Sanji or Zoro. All solid plays. Nami is not the best play, but Nami is a blocker, which he might need at this point as his resources are getting pretty low. And I've never had good luck going into Zoro with Purple Luffy. It's a very, very hard matchup. Purple Luffy just using their life as resources to try to make their own game plan happen really just plays into Zoro's favor, right? And Zoro's able to pressure a ton of 6Ks to 7Ks, kind of eliminating that advantage that Luffy has. Luffy can typically keep a lot of 2Ks in hand, but Zoro just kind of gets him out of hand pretty quickly. Opponent only has 5 cards in hand. Opponent's gonna go ahead and swing a 6k into Chopper. I immediately take that, meaning I don't have any counter. 6k into Zoro, and then a 5k into the 4k. Pretty much reading that I don't have any 2ks since I took that first take immediately. Opponent's going to play out a Luffy Taro. Luffy Taro is going to play out a Zoro Juro. Probably one of the best plays at this point, other than putting a Nami into play off of the Luffy Taro, just allowing him to look the top 5, try to find some more counter. He's going to grab the 0 cost event here, which is another way for my opponent to get up to 8k to get out of a 7k swing, which is going to be pretty great for the memes of the camera. So I didn't actually see this. He showed it to the camera to show that there just weren't a lot of great hits in that. I think he was laughing about there being multiple Kaidos in there, but I did not see. I looked away in that. But now that we're watching this back, I'm able to see it here. Yeah, going into our 7 Dawn turn, this would have been our 9 Dawn turn, but getting Magellan twice kind of hurts a little bit, as this Luffy's going to come down with just a lot less Dawn potentially attached to him. I just want to try to pressure, potentially damage, to try to get my opponent down to 0, which means my Diable Jambe will turn on for the next turn. But yeah, if you're liking this type of content, you enjoy this kind of gameplay content, where I release videos like this pretty often, as well as other types of content like deck techs and the occasional pre-release guide. Set 9's coming out soon. Pre-release guide's going to be coming out soon. So definitely subscribe so you can catch that content. Join the crew. And yeah, we're going to start with a 6k lead. We're going to go another 6k lead, and then we're going to go 7k lead here. And my opponent's at a standstill here. I know my opponent has a 0 cost counter in hand, and my opponent decides to take it, which means my opponent forgot a very crucial piece of evidence, and that's that I have a Diable Jambe. That Diable Jambe was public information. I did search it off of that Nami several turns ago, and so now I'm kind of threatening that even if my opponent puts up any amount of blockers, this game is going to be over here. But my opponent just kind of lets it happen, and not realizing that that's what I had in hand. I am still sitting at a very healthy 5 life, and my opponent's going to continue to just swap attacks into my board here. Maybe start to pressure me a little bit, going to 6k into lead here, and I am happy to take any hits possible, because every hit I take is more fuel to rush my opponent out. So I'm honestly happy to do that. Opponent's likely going to just keep swinging. Opponent swings a big 10k here. I'm just going to take that as well. Maybe not realizing that I can very easily just take swings. I think my opponent just doesn't have anything else to do with their Dawn, so they might as well just keep swinging out here. If I was a little more fearful and my opponent had more swings, I might have triggered that Radical Beam, but my opponent didn't have any more swings. Plays out a Nami. Nami does allow him to discard a card, discards a Luffy Taro, and draws 2 cards, and my opponent is feeling pretty good right now, with me only having 1 attacker and my opponent having 4 cards in hand. But Again, my opponent did not realize or forgot that I had the Diable Jambe in hand, allowing me to get unblockable on Zoro instant, swinging a solid 13k at lead, unblockable. And yeah, I think that should likely be game here. Opponent's going to show, I think that was a 0 cost and then 3 1Ks. And yeah, revealing, and voice cracking, oh my gosh, revealing that I had the Monkey D. Luffy in hand, so that was just a ready to go game. But yeah, that's the matchup in a nutshell. Zoro just goes really fast against Luffy. Luffy kind of struggles to make ends meet and protect himself until he can go for game there. And yeah, if you like this type of gameplay, definitely subscribe, and we'll catch you in the next video.